So apparently my brother is going to be some big superstar. He has this app idea, and he's starting to build it. He says it's going to be worth millions. You know, everybody says that, right? But only like 1% of people become successful in that kind of thing. Anyways, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? Unless, of course, it puts your family in debt. $350,000 on nothing more than an idea. That's right, my parents put their house up for a loan, just so my golden child brother could try his app idea. Well, guess what? It failed. She's so gullible. Will never have to work again as long as she feels guilty about family. Those were my mother's exact words yesterday as I stood frozen outside my own kitchen door, listening to my parents laugh about how they've been manipulating me for months. Turns out my whole life is a lie, and I'm just their retirement plan. I'm still shaking with rage as I type this. Growing up, it was always clear that my younger brother Mark was the golden child. He was the special one with big dreams, while I was just reliable. My parents constantly praised his entrepreneurial spirit even when his schemes failed, while my achievements were treated as expected. I worked my butt off through high school and college, holding down multiple jobs while maintaining 3.9 GPA. Meanwhile, Mark barely passed his classes but was treated like a genius because he was too creative for school. After graduating with honors, I landed my dream job in digital marketing. The pay wasn't incredible at first, but I lived frugally and saved every penny I could. After 3 years of eating ramen and having no social life, I managed to scrape together enough for a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. Mark, on the other hand, dropped out of college in his second year to focus on his revolutionary app, basically a dating app for pet owners, which already exists in like 50 different forms. But whatever. Despite having zero coding experience or business background, he was convinced he would be the next Zuckerberg, and my parents believed every single word. A few months later, I got a call from my mother saying they had decided to downsize and were selling our family home. The home where I grew up, the home where I had planned to have my wedding someday, a home full of my childhood memories. I was shocked, since they'd always talked about it being their forever home, but they assured me it was just time for something smaller. What they did not mention was that they were selling it to fund Mark's app. I only found out when my aunt accidentally let it slip at a family dinner. Apparently, they gave him nearly $350,000, pretty much their entire equity in the house. I was stunned but tried to be supportive. Maybe Mark would actually succeed this time. Spoiler, he didn't. 3 months later, Mark's app launched to crickets. 2 months after that, the company was officially dead in the water, and all the money was just gone. Just like that. Then, on a random Tuesday evening, my doorbell rings. There stood my parents with 4 suitcases and sad faces. They claimed they needed a place to stay for a week or so until they figured things out. Being the dutiful daughter I am, I welcomed them in. Guys, that was 8 months ago. In that time, they've contributed exactly zero toward rent, utilities, or groceries. They've taken over my living room, rearranged my furniture without asking, and criticized my cooking. They've complained about my work hours and invited their friends over for dinner parties that I ended up paying for. They don't even help with household chores, and mom claims her back problems prevent her from vacuuming, yet somehow she manages to play tennis twice a week. I've been working 50 hours weekly to support 3 adults while they treat me like a free rent resort. I've tried bringing up their job search multiple times, but they always have excuse after excuse. Dad's waiting for the right opportunity at his level, and mom does not want to settle for retail at her age. Meanwhile, I'm drowning in stress and watching my savings disappear. Yesterday changed everything. I had a client meeting canceled last minute, so I came home early, around 2 p.m. As I was unlocking the door, I heard my parents laughing in the kitchen, and I paused when I heard my name. I couldn't believe what I heard. My mother was mocking me for being gullible and saying they would never need to work again as long as I felt guilty about family. My dad chimed in about their plan to move into any future home I might share with a husband. My mother even laughed about me believing their fake job search story, questioning why they would ever work when they had me to support them. It felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I quietly closed the door and went back to my car. I drove around aimlessly for hours, crying and trying to process what I'd heard. They've been planning this. My own parents see me as nothing but a meal ticket, and everything, the sad faces, the gratitude, the occasional mentions of being close to finding jobs, all of it was a lie. I finally came home around 8 p.m. and went straight into my room, claiming I had a migraine. They didn't even know anything was wrong, just asked if I would pick up more wine on my way home. I've been supporting them for 8 months while they secretly laughed at me behind my back. I want them out of here, out of my life, out of my house. But they have nowhere to go, and if I kick them out, I'm the villain who abandoned her parents. And if I let them stay, I'm signing up for a lifetime of being used. I'm shaking as I type this, literally. I mean, what should I do? Am I the bad guy if I kick them out after everything I discovered? Update 1. First of all, thank you so much for the overwhelming support and validation on my original post. Reading your comments made me realize I'm not crazy or selfish for feeling betrayed and used. Your advice gave me the courage to take action, though not quite in the way many of you suggested. Several people recommended gathering evidence before confrontation, and that resonated with me. So instead of immediately confronting my parents, I ordered 2 small nanny cams online and placed them in the common areas of my house, one in the living room and one in the kitchen. Yes, it's my house, and yes, it's legal in my state. For an entire week, I acted completely normal. I went to work, came home tired, cooked dinner, and retreated to my room early, claiming I had projects to finish, all while the cameras recorded everything my parents did and said when they thought I wasn't around. What I discovered made my blood boil. Not only did they continue to mock me and laugh about their retirement plan, but I also learned they actually had around $80,000 saved in a separate account that I knew nothing about. Apparently, they did not give all their money to Mark. They kept a significant chunk hidden away while letting me support them completely. I also discovered they'd been going through my mail, including my financial statements, when I wasn't home. You want to know the worst part? They'd been actively discouraging me from dating. My mom admitted to deliberately making negative comments about a guy I saw a few months ago because she was worried a relationship might distract me from family priorities. Translation: supporting them last night, I decided I'd seen enough. I made her favorite meal. The irony was not lost on me, and waited until we were all seated at the dining table. Then I placed my phone in the center and played one of the recordings. The color drained from their faces as they heard their own voices mocking me. My father immediately tried to grab the phone, but I pulled it away. My mom attempted to claim it was just a joke, and I was taking it out of context. And when that didn't work, they switched to guilt tripping. How could I spy on my own parents after everything they'd done for me? Guys, that's when I lost it. I told them exactly what they've done for me, made me feel second best my entire life, given my brother endless chances while expecting me to fend for myself, and now trying to leech off me indefinitely while lying to my face. Then came the real kicker. In the heat of the argument, my dad blurted out that they never actually expected me to succeed. They always bet on Mark being their retirement plan, and I was just the backup option they never thought they'd need to use. Hearing those words felt like a knife to the heart. I gave them 30 days to find another place to live. I was shaking but firm when I told them I would be drawing up formal eviction notices tomorrow. My mother started to cry, and my dad kept insisting I was overreacting and would come around once I calmed down. They still don't get it. They genuinely don't believe I'm serious about making them leave. My mother even had the audacity to ask what I was planning to cook this weekend because she'd invited her bridge club over. It's been 24 hours, and they're going about their business as if nothing happened. No job searching, no apartment hunting, no acknowledgement of the nuclear bomb that went off in our relationship. They're just waiting for me to cave like I always do. I need to make them understand I mean business this time. Any suggestions on how to make these 30 days uncomfortable enough that they leave on their own? Or should I just stick to my guns and wait it out? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Update 2. Hey, it's been 2 weeks since my confrontation with my parents, and things have gone from bad to worse in ways I never imagined possible. After getting advice from many of you, I implemented what I've been calling Operation Uncomfortable. I changed the Wi-Fi password, canceled the streaming subscriptions, started cooking only for myself, and began looking into the formal eviction process with a lawyer. I figured these small inconveniences would motivate my parents to start taking me seriously. Instead, they doubled down in the most infuriating way possible. They invited Mark to stay with us, too. Yep, you read that right. My brother showed up 3 days ago with 2 suitcases and a stupid, smug face, claiming that families should stick together during difficult times, as if he wasn't the primary reason our family is in this mess in the first place. Now my spare bedroom is occupied by the golden child, and I'm effectively supporting 3 adults who contribute nothing. But it gets worse. Much worse. Yesterday, I came home early again. I've been doing this randomly to keep an eye on things, and found all 3 of them in my home office, my filing cabinets open, papers scattered everywhere, and my laptop unlocked. They'd been going through my personal financial documents, bank statements, investment accounts, even my emails. When confronted, they claimed they were just trying to understand the household budget better so they could help. The argument that followed was explosive. In the heat of the moment, my parents finally revealed the full truth about the house sale. They actually sold our family home for much more than they initially told me. The property market in our area had boomed, and they received nearly $500,000, not the $350,000 they claimed. And they gave almost all of it to Mark. Mark, who was standing right there, had the nerve to shrug and say, "The money's gone, so what does it matter?" When pressed, he admitted he spent most of it on first-class trips to network with investors, a luxury apartment he couldn't afford to keep, and a ridiculous cryptocurrency scheme that tanked immediately. He said it was a rug pull. Almost none of it actually went to developing his app. I was speechless. $500,000, my inheritance, my childhood home, just gone on my brother's lavish lifestyle, while my parents plotted to mooch off me forever. The fight escalated until neighbors could probably hear us arguing. My parents are now threatening to tell our entire extended family that I'm abandoning them in their time of need. They're painting me as the ungrateful daughter, throwing her poor parents out on the street after they sacrificed everything for their children. And Mark is somehow the worst of all. He's been floating the idea that I should invest in his new business concept. Apparently now he wants to start a premium dog food subscription service, and he actually asked if I could spare $50,000 as seed money. When I laughed in his face, he said I was jealous of his entrepreneurial vision and that this way I'd always be stuck in some 9 to 5 while he becomes a millionaire. I'm beyond furious. I'm beyond hurt. I'm in a state of cold, calculated rage I've never experienced before. These people, my so-called family, have used me, lied to me, stolen from me, and now want to villainize me to everyone we know. I'm done playing nice. Tomorrow, I'm implementing the nuclear option. I've already spoken to my lawyer and everything is prepared, and I don't want to say too much right now in case they somehow find this post. But by this time tomorrow, they'll understand exactly how serious I am. Anyways, I'll update once it's done. Any last-minute advice before I burn this bridge forever? Update 3. It's been 72 hours since I executed my plan, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. For those asking if I went through with the nuclear option, yes, I absolutely did. I took Wednesday off work without telling my family, and as soon as they left the house to go shopping using my credit card, which I've since canceled, I sprang into action with a plan I'd carefully coordinated beforehand. First, I had a locksmith arrive at 10 a.m. sharp to change every lock in the house. Next came 2 burly movers I'd hired, who helped me move all of my parents' and Mark's belongings onto the front yard under waterproof tarps. It was forecasted to be sunny all day. I was surprised by how little they actually owned. Most of the furniture and appliances were mine anyway. By noon, everything was ready, and I placed an envelope on top of their belongings containing 3 things. 1. A one-way bus ticket to Mark's former city, where he still claims to have connections. 2. $11.00 in cash. More than generous, considering how much they've taken from me already. And 3. A formal eviction notice prepared by my lawyer, stating they had officially violated our verbal agreement by accessing my private financial information without permission. Then I waited on my front porch, reading a book and sipping lemonade for the inevitable storm. They returned around 2 less p.m., shopping bags in hand, and the shock on their faces when they saw the pile of their belongings was priceless. My mother started wailing dramatically, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Of course, Mark immediately began threatening legal action. My father attempted to reason with me, cycling through anger, pleading, and guilt-tripping in record time. I remained calm and simply pointed to the envelope, and when they realized I'd canceled my credit card and changed the locks, the real tantrum began. My mother called me every name in the book while my father frantically called various family members. Mark just stood there looking stunned, as if he couldn't comprehend that actions might actually have consequences. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with messages from aunts and uncles and cousins demanding to know how I could do this to my poor parents. I didn't even engage. I'd prepared a simple text that I sent to anyone who reached out. I have evidence of everything. Ask them about the $80,000 they've been hiding while letting me support them completely for 8 months. That seemed to slow the tide of family outrage, at least temporarily. Eventually, after hours of drama that had the whole neighborhood watching from behind their curtains, Mark called a friend who reluctantly agreed to let them crash at his place, and they loaded their belongings into an Uber XL, which I definitely did not pay for. My mother declared I would regret this for the rest of my life. Mark said nothing, just glared at me with pure hatred. My father was the only one who seemed slightly humbled, mumbling something about being in touch once things cooled down. And just like that, they were gone. I should feel relieved, right? Free, triumphant. Instead, I feel empty. The house is quiet now, too quiet. Even though I know what they did was unforgivable, even though I know I did what was necessary, there's still a voice in my head wondering if I've made a terrible mistake. Am I really the villain they're making me out to be? But then I remember the recordings, the laughter at my expense, the admission that they never really believed in me, the violation of my privacy and trust, and a lie upon lie upon lie. They're gone, but this doesn't feel like a victory yet. I'm still angry about everything I've discovered. The childhood home I'll never see again, the $500,000 that should have been partly my inheritance, and the years of being treated as second best, only to end up as their retirement plan. I want them to truly understand what they've done. I want there to be some real consequence beyond just losing their free ride. I want the extended family to know exactly who they are behind closed doors. Is that petty, vindictive? Should I just let it go and focus on rebuilding my life? Or do I have one more move to make? Update 4. It's been nearly 3 months since I kicked my parents and brother out, and so much has happened that I hardly know where to begin. This will be my final update, because after yesterday, I finally feel like this chapter of my life is closing. First, the immediate aftermath. 2 weeks after the eviction, I learned through my cousin that Mark couldn't handle staying with my parents either. Apparently, his friend's hospitality ran out after just a few days, forcing all 3 of them to cram into a cheap motel. Mark ended up abandoning my parents after a massive fight over money. Last I heard, he was couch surfing and trying to convince people to invest in yet another doomed business venture. My parents, meanwhile, have been struggling. They finally had to get jobs. My dad at a hardware store and my mother at a grocery store, and are renting a tiny 1-bedroom apartment. They've been telling anybody who will listen that I stole their retirement and betrayed the family. Some relatives believed them at first, but their stories kept changing whenever anyone asked specific questions. The real turning point came when I discovered something that made my blood boil all over again. Remember how I mentioned my parents claimed to have sold our family home for about $500,000? Well, after doing some digging with my real estate friend, I found out they never actually paid off the mortgage completely. They'd been refinancing repeatedly over the years to fund Mark's previous failed ventures and their own spending habits. The truth was, they only walked away with about $200,000 from the sale after paying what they still owed the bank. And based on Mark's revelations during our final fight, they gave him at least $150,000 of that. So where did the rest go? And what about those mysterious $80,000 in savings I'd overheard them discussing? I spent weeks piecing together the paper trail, using skills I've developed in my marketing analytics job, and what I found was shocking: gambling. Lots and lots of gambling. My parents, yeah, especially my father, had been hiding a serious gambling addiction for years. Those business trips and shopping excursions were mostly casinos. The remaining money from the house sale was gone within weeks, and the gambling discovery was just the start. As I dug deeper into their financial history, I uncovered something that felt like a physical blow to my chest. Throughout my college years, when I was working multiple jobs and taking out student loans because my parents claimed they just couldn't help financially, they had actually set up a substantial college fund for Mark. Nearly $95,000 sat in an account with his name on it, while I struggled to pay for ramen. That money disappeared too, of course, transferred to one of Mark's business accounts shortly after he dropped out. My education had been an afterthought, something I needed to figure out myself, while they secretly funneled every resource to him. The betrayal cut even deeper when I found old emails between my parents discussing my college applications. My mother had actually written, "She'll get scholarships or loans. We need to save for Mark's future. He's the one who'll need the support." They had strategically planned to make me self-sufficient so they could pour everything into my brother from the very beginning. To make matters worse, during my investigation, I received a call from my grandmother's nursing home. Apparently, my parents had stopped paying her monthly care fees 3 months ago, despite telling the extended family they were handling it. The nursing home was prepared to evict my 87-year-old grandmother, who suffers from dementia. I immediately arranged to cover the outstanding balance and took over the payments going forward, though it stretched my budget to a breaking point. When I called my grandmother, she was confused but relieved that my parents even remembered she existed. She said she hadn't seen them in months. The staff confirmed they hadn't visited her in over 6 months, though they frequently called asking if she'd received her Social Security check. My heart sank as I realized they had likely been taking her money too. As I was processing these devastating discoveries, I received yet another shock. My ex-fiancé James reached out to me out of the blue. We'd broken up 2 years ago, after a whirlwind romance ended in a sudden, confusing split that left me heartbroken for months. I always wondered what went wrong. We were talking about marriage one day, and the next he was returning my key and saying he needed space. His message was simple: "I think we need to talk about your parents." We met for coffee the next day, and what he revealed left me speechless. Apparently, shortly before our breakup, my parents had approached him behind my back. They told him I had serious financial problems. I was too embarrassed to admit, and asked him to loan them $25,000 for my sake. When he expressed concern and said he wanted to talk to me about it, they discouraged him, saying I was too proud to accept help. James, who was starting his own business at the time, couldn't afford such a loan. My parents then suggested that perhaps he wasn't ready for a serious commitment if he couldn't support their daughter in her time of need. They heavily implied that any good future husband would step up financially. Confused and concerned about being pressured for money before we'd even been married, he pulled away, thinking I might be involved in the scheme. I was devastated all over again. Not only had they cost me my relationship, but they'd tried to scam the man I loved. James apologized profusely for not talking to me directly, admitting he should have known better. We both realized how expertly my parents had manipulated the situation, playing on his insecurities and my independence. As we parted, James mentioned hearing through mutual friends that my parents had done similar things with 2 other men I dated in college. The pattern was clear. They sabotaged my relationships to keep me isolated and available to support them. As I was processing all these discoveries, I received an invitation to our annual extended family reunion, scheduled for last weekend. Initially, I planned to skip it, but then I had a better idea. I decided to attend with receipts, literally and figuratively. I spent 3 weeks preparing what my roommate jokingly called the presentation of doom. I gathered bank statements, property records, recordings, text messages, and even created a detailed timeline of events on professional-looking slides. When I arrived at the reunion, everyone went quiet. My parents looked like they'd seen a ghost, and before they could start their version of events, I politely asked for everyone's attention and connected my laptop to the TV. For the next 30 minutes, I methodically presented the complete truth. How they'd remortgaged our family home repeatedly. How they funded Mark's luxury lifestyle while making me work through college. The recordings of them mocking me and exploiting me, and the gambling. The silence when I finished was deafening. Then my aunt, my dad's own sister, stood up and said, "I always knew something wasn't right with your story, Richard." One by one, family members expressed their shock and disappointment in my parents. My cousin revealed that my mother had tried to borrow money from her last month while claiming I'd stolen their savings. But I wasn't done. I saved the biggest revelation for last. Remember the childhood home I was so heartbroken about losing? Well, the bank foreclosed on it after the new buyer defaulted on their payments. I'd been quietly working with a mortgage broker, and as of last week, I'm now the official owner of my childhood home. My parents' faces were absolutely priceless, and my dad actually had to sit down. I announced that I would not be living there. Instead, I'm renting it to a single mother from my office at below market rate because she reminds me of what my mom could have been if she'd made some different choices. Guys, the family reunion effectively ended with that bombshell. Obviously, my parents left early, and I was surrounded by relatives offering support. And, well, they eventually apologized for doubting me. I don't know. That's really all I have to say. Thank you for helping me find my spine and my voice when I needed it most. I could not have done that without everyone's support who helped me in the comment section.